All right, let's talk about a classic developer headache, getting data out of an Oracle database and into something like Excel. It can be a real pain, right? Well, today we're going to break down a super elegant and modern way to solve this, and it's all about generating files directly in memory.
So, are you looking for a better way? Something more flexible, more secure, and just more modern to handle your data exports? If you're not in your head right now, then you are in the right place. We're going to get into exactly how to pull this off. For years, the standard way to do this was pretty clunky. You'd have the database write a file directly onto the server's file system. And oh, the headaches. You're dealing with permissions, security issues. It's a mess. But the modern way? Totally different. We generate the file entirely in memory. Think of it like a temporary digital workspace, as something called a blob. That stands for Binary Large Object. It's basically just a flexible container for our data, and trust me, it changes everything.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with a data export dilemma, then talk about this more flexible solution. After that, we'll dive into building the actual SLK generator and putting that blob to work. We'll also cover some important things to keep in mind and wrap it all up with the Symbolic PWA method.
All right, first things first. Before we jump into the how, let's really understand the why. What makes generating a blob a total game changer for this kind of thing?
Okay, the number one reason? Total, complete flexibility. Once you have your data packaged up as a blob, you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. You want to serve it as a download from your web app? Done. Attach it to an automated email? Easy. You could even store it in another database table. The point is, you are no longer chained to a physical file on some server somewhere.
And that leads right into the next huge win, server independence. Think about it. You completely bypass the need to write files to the server's operating system. What does that mean for you? Well, it means no more wrestling with file permissions, which is a lifesaver. It simplifies security, and you don't have to worry about multiple users or processes tripping over each other trying to write files at the same time. It is a massive operational relief.
And last but definitely not least, this method is just built for the way we develop apps today. Blobs are a standard data type. So tools like Oracle Apex, which is Oracle's awesome web dev platform, or languages like Java, Python, you name it, they all know how to handle blobs. This makes plugging this solution into your existing applications incredibly straightforward.
Okay, let's get to the fun part, the core of this whole solution. It's a PL/SQL package called PagSylk. Now, if you're not familiar, PL/SQL is just Oracle's own programming language that runs right inside the database. And this little package? It's the engine that does all the heavy lifting for us.
So what kind of file are we actually making here? It's called an SLK file, which stands for Symbolic Link. Now, don't let the name intimidate you or anything. It's just a really simple text-based format that programs like Excel have understood for like decades. It's super lightweight and absolutely perfect for this kind of job.
The process inside is actually super logical. Step 1. The function grabs your SQL query. Then, it builds the file header and sticks your column titles in there. Next, it just loops through all your data row by row, formatting it for the SLK file. And finally, it wraps everything up and converts that text into our final blob. Simple as that.
Okay, so we've got this really powerful package, but how easy is it to actually use? I mean, that's the real test, right? Well, this is where the whole approach really shines.
Just look at this. Seriously, that is the command. Once the package is set up, you can generate your entire file with one single line of SQL. You just tell it which query to run and what to name the file, and boom, it hands you back the blob. It's so clean, so simple.
And once you get that blob back from your command, well, the possibilities are wide open. Your web app can grab it and immediately offer it as a download. You could save it into another table for your records. Or maybe an automated system snags it and attaches it to an email. The point is, you are in complete control of what happens next.
Okay, but of course, anytime we talk about moving from a cool concept to a real-world production system, there are always a few practical things we need to keep in our back pocket.
So here are a few key things. First, performance. If you're dealing with huge data sets, you've got to make sure your query is optimized, because this is all happening in memory. Second, error handling. The app that receives the blob needs to know what to do if something goes wrong. Third, character encoding. Super important to make sure your data doesn't turn into gibberish. Also remember, SLK is simple. If you need fancy charts and colors, you'll still want a real XLSX file. And finally, you can definitely enhance this process to support dynamic parameters in your queries.
All right, let's wrap this up. This whole technique, which comes from the Symbolic PWA site, and we're calling it their method, is just a really powerful, really modern solution to a problem developers have had forever.
Think about it. You're putting all the logic in one central place, which makes it easy to maintain. You're boosting your security because you're not messing with the server's file system, and you're getting this incredibly versatile way to deliver data that just fits perfectly with how we build apps today.
And so that leaves us with one final question to think about. We've been talking about Excel files, but what else could you do with this? How could you use this idea of flexible, in-memory file generation to solve problems in your own applications?
So this entire breakdown was based on an awesome article from Ufumbuzi PWA called Generating SLK Files from Oracle to Open in Excel. I highly recommend you go check out their site. You can get the full source code and really dive into all the nitty-gritty details. Thanks so much for tuning in.